Hello folks, I'm Alex, this is Alex Unabridged, and today I've got my GarbAugust 1.5 Wasted Weekend wrap-up. So yes, hello, welcome back to the channel, if that's the case. Today I'm going to go through what I read for the Wasted Weekend that we've just had. Criminoli's Wasted Weekend, part of his GarbAugust events, and this was a little mini one because we're in February, and the full fat version, the full month, will be obviously later this year in August. If you don't know what GarbAugust is, I will leave links in the description to Ollie's channel, Criminoli, where you can find various videos about what he's been reading, about the event, and also what he means and what we generally mean when we talk about trashy books, because that's what the event is about. It's about reading trashy books and the value of reading trashy books. Quick primer from me, just in terms of like anybody who's finding this video who doesn't doesn't know anything about GarbAugust. Trashy or trash in terms of books or films or anything else, it's a term of love. It just it doesn't mean bad, basically. It's things that are often kind of mass market, quick reads, published in response to really popular things, popular works. They're usually quite fast-paced, easy, fun things, often filled with tropes, but often in the best possible way. They come in all kinds of genres. You've got horror, adventure books, romance, sci-fi, anything and everything. They can be tie-ins to movies, video games, that kind of thing. There's where there's been a particularly popular piece of media, you might find a novelisation or a tie-in. I'd include in that, including the trash definition, books written by celebrities. An example I can remember from a few years ago is there's a series of books written by Alan Titchmarsh, who is a sort of gardening, was a gardener and a gardening presenter on TV in the UK, and he wrote a series of quite saucy books that made some waves when they were released. That I think certainly fits into the definition of trashy books. I think indie titles can be trashy too, self-published stuff, because there's a lot of stuff out there obviously these days, certainly on like Kindle Unlimited and on the Kindle store, which is self-published works. Although obviously they're not things that publishers have pushed out in response to other popular works, they can have elements that make them kind of fit within the trashy kind of bracket, if you like. There's some which are very fast-paced, very fun to read. They are full of tropes. They play on tropes, and they're fantastic, some of them. And so yeah, it's absolutely not a slight when I use the word trashy. It is it's a term of love in most cases. Yeah, I think trash can be of huge value. If you want something that just takes you away from things, that's a quick read, like when you're traveling, what I call airport novels. It's something you pick up at the airport because you've not taken a book with you, and you just think, I just want something that I can get through on a plane ride or on a train journey or whatever. Something that'll draw you in, that'll hold your attention, that'll kind of give you some action or some romance or both, or scare you a bit or make you laugh. They can be very tongue-in-cheek sometimes as well. So it's like, there's a huge value there. They can get people into reading. They can get people into writing. I've read some stuff that I suppose fits within the trashy bracket recently that's kind of made me go, yeah, I need to start writing stuff down of my own fiction, my own short stories and things. So yes, it is a term of love. There is great value in trash and trashy books, and films and TV and all of that as well. So yes, but for a more comprehensive overview of trashy things, then yeah, check out Criminali's channel. Okay, so the books that I read, I managed to get through three and a half basically over the weekend. I got a little bit carried away. Basically, this is the thing, is like once you find some stuff that you like and it is, you know, kind of quick to read and stuff, then I just kind of ended up just kind of going, oh, nom, 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 you know, and chomping my way through, you know, more books than I necessarily expected to. I had 2 audiobooks and 2 books from Kindle Unlimited. The audiobooks were both on the Plus catalogue, so I didn't want to spend any extra pennies for the weekend, so I thought I'd see what I'd got within my subscriptions. So I trawled through those and found stuff that I thought looked, you know, particularly trashy. So the first one that I read was a Kindle Unlimited title, and I saw the title and just thought, how can I not? This was Frankenstein's Hamster, a Christmas horror novella by Michael Christopher Carter. This is a self-published title, and he's one of a trilogy as well. So yeah, I saw that and went, well, that's happening. You know, it's a nice, you know, short as well, so I thought it's one I can, you know, kind of fit in quite easily. So yeah, the basic premise is pretty much what you'd expect from a book called Frankenstein's Hamster. It follows a young lad, Harvey, who's a bit of a scientific genius, and he comes from a bit of a difficult background, violent dad, you know, and he's very protective of his mum and his little sister. And his sister gets a hamster for Christmas, which unfortunately meets its almost demise quite quickly. And so yes, he decides with his scientific genius knowledge that he's going to try and bring the hamster back from near death. And so he has to perform a little bit of surgery on it, and uses his own brain waves to kind of kickstart the hamster's sort of neurological functions again. But something goes hideously wrong, and you end up with a kind of hyper-intelligent hamster with a decent amount of bloodlust. So yeah, that's the basic premise. And then obviously terror ensues, and hilarity, I have to say. You know, it's very, very tongue-in-cheek. It's very fun. It's short and punchy. It's well paced. It's, you know, it's got a good amount of gore in it and a good amount of silliness, definitely. Yeah, Michael Christopher Carter certainly, I think, knew what he was writing, and, you know, riffing on some of the sort of trashy horror that's come before. So yeah, I'll definitely go and read the other 2 books in the trilogy, which are Hamster, House of Horror, and Hamster's Night of Terror. So yes, I can't not. I really can't. You know, it was too much fun. So yes, that was the first one. Then I went on to one of my audiobooks, which was Alien Covenant Origins, a prequel to a prequel, basically a tie-in, which is a prequel to a prequel. And if that doesn't say trash, then I don't know what does. So yeah, that was by Alan Dean Foster, and narrated by Tom Taylorson. And yeah, it looks at what happens, things that happen before the spaceship, the colony spaceship Covenant leaves Earth to go off to another planet for its crew to establish a colony. And it revolves around a series of terror attacks designed to stop the Covenant from leaving, and the members of the Weyland-Yutani Corporation and the crew of the Covenant trying to figure out who's behind the attacks and why they're committing these attacks and why they're trying to stop the Covenant from leaving. So yeah, this was really enjoyable. Much more so even than I thought it would be. It's pretty well written. It's engaging. It's it's got an intriguing plot. There's kind of sort of some mystery there. It's got well formed kind of characters. Decent likable characters. It's I mean, I like the lore of the sort of the alien kind of universe, if you like, from the films, and so it expanded on that. So I enjoyed that element of it definitely. The setting of it was good. There's some stuff on the Covenant while it's docked, waiting to leave, but then there's quite a lot in kind of a future version of London and Tokyo and Hampshire. So I do like that when it's stuff set in places that I know, certainly like London and Hampshire, and it's not too far sort of into the future or too far away from our own kind of present time. Then it's really nice to see how the author imagines that future, and it's got some some good sort of future tech and ideas about kind of how things might work a few years down the line. The only the only thing about it obviously is with it being a prequel, and this is probably could be considered a spoiler, so you've been warned. No aliens in it because it's obviously a prequel before they leave to go off somewhere. So yeah, but it didn't suffer because of that. It's not like I kind of figured out quite quickly when I got kind of when I started reading and I saw its setting. I thought, yeah, we're probably not going to get much alien activity in this, but it's more about the foreboding and the kind of the setup of it. But yeah, it was it told its own story and it did it well. So fair play. So I will read more of the Alien novelizations based on how much I actually enjoyed this and enjoyed the kind of the world building and stuff like that. So yeah, another success. So yes, the third one that I started was another audiobook, which was the official novelisation of God of War, the video game. And it's written by J.M. Barlog, who is the father of Cory Barlog, who was the writer and director of the game. And it's read by Alistair Duncan as well, who played one of the kind of significant side characters in the game. I have played some of the game, probably about 70% of the game, and then kind of got drawn away by the next newest shiny game, and actually never went back to it. It's not the usual sort of game that I would play. It's very action heavy, and that's usually not my sort of thing. But what kind of it attracted me to it was the story, was the narrative, and it is very good. So yeah, so I thought, well, get the book, and that'll actually get me through to the end of the story. So yeah, it follows Kratos, who's the former Greek god of war, and his son Atreus, and their kind of quest to take his late wife's and Atreus's mother's ashes to be spread at the highest peak of the Nine Realms, as she requested before she died. We join the story just after her death, and along their journey they come into lots of conflict with monsters and gods of the Norse world. But it's really a kind of it's a father and son story. It's about Kratos kind of learning to be a good father, and it's Atreus' kind of coming of age story. And about him learning about his father's past, which Kratos has kept a secret from him, that he is a former Greek god. This one, it wasn't bad. It certainly wasn't bad. I haven't quite finished it yet. I'm still going with it. I kind of put it down because it was it was just getting. I felt it was getting a little bit samey in parts with the action stuff. It was a bit emotionless, I think, in parts. So it felt a bit slow going. There was a lot of I would say kind of over description sometimes on the fighty bits, which is to be expected because I mean the game is very action heavy, but you know when you're reading that in a book, for me it was just as I say, when it's a bit emotionless, feels a bit emotionless, a bit cold as well. It just got a bit kind of bit much. So I think it's one that I can quite easily just kind of dip into for an hour and then kind of you know. Kind of go away from for for a bit and read something else and then dip back into it. So I will finish it, but I haven't done it yet. But it's nice to have the option to experience the story in this form with me not having actually finished the game, and it's not too bad an example of translating the game to a novel form. Alistair Duncan was very good as the narrator. He is the kind of the emotionlessness or the coldness that I talk about isn't down to the narration. I think it's just down to the overly descriptive writing in parts for the fighting stuff. As I say, that's just for the actiony bits. The more kind of character led elements of it are much better. The bits, the conversations between Atreus and Kratos. And the other characters are much better, and the kind of the world descriptions, etc. So you can visualize things. They're decent as well. It's just the actiony bits which I just kind of found a bit much sometimes. So yeah, I'd say still another success. Fingers crossed. I will finish it, but as I say, it just needs to be done in small chunks for me. So the fourth book. Was a Kindle Unlimited pick that I absolutely ripped through on Sunday night and was a complete shocker to me that I liked it. And that is Soul Eater by Lily Mayne. It's the first in a series of I think there's 7 books in the series to date of male post-apocalyptic romance. Now, I never read romance generally. My experience with romance is probably there are 2 occasions that I can kind of pinpoint having read romance. Certainly, kind of more trashy romance. The first being when I was probably 13, and my mum had had a massive amount of Mills and Boon novels. That she'd won. She used to do writing competitions, and she'd happened to win one where the prize was the entire back catalogue of Mills and Boon and some sort of like Mills and Boon romance writing course. And I don't think she could have been less impressed with that. I don't think she ever touched them. But as a curious 13-year-old, I kind of went, oh, what are these about then? So I thought, oh, I'll have a look. I'll see what all of this, this sauciness is meant to be about. And I was thoroughly disappointed. It was not the experience I think I'd hoped it to be. It was full of really corny euphemisms and just, really one-dimensional characters and just, the ones that I read anyway. And just settings that I had absolutely no interest in as a 13-year-old kid. So, of course, I wasn't going to like it. But yeah, it wasn't as... wasn't as racy as I had expected and I think hoped it to be at 13. It was basically one step up from looking at the underwear section in the mail order catalogues. It was that kind of level, of kind of tutoring for my adulthood. So yeah, that was the first one. So that was a bit of a. I think the second one that I read was when I was about 19. And I think it was marketed as a lesbian erotic romance novel, and it's about the least romantic thing I think I've ever read, seen, experienced. And it wasn't even that erotic. It was, don't get me wrong, it was smut. It was pure, quite hardcore smut. but it was poorly written, really poorly written. So after that, I kind of went, don't really like romance, rubbish. So never went back to it. So this one, I went into fully expecting to maybe have some fun and a bit of a laugh at it, but not necessarily really enjoy it. And how wrong I was. So yeah, this is set in a very alternative future, where 20 years prior to the time we meet our characters, there's been essentially tears in the fabric of reality, and through those tears, monsters from another plane of existence have emerged and have kind of flooded into our world, and chaos has ensued, basically. The military have tried to wipe them out, and the monsters are far stronger. So humans now live in sort of military countries, very military controlled society. Humans live in military controlled cities on the coastlines, which are really cramped and dirty and deprived. And the majority of the states is just known as the wastes, where it's kind of, a free-for-all for monsters and raiders, and the army still trying to wipe everything out. It's lawless and desolate. It's dangerous. It's teeming with really horrible, foul monsters that are trying to sort of claim the land for their own. And then there are some more kind of humanoid monsters, some sort of intelligent monsters, monsters that can speak, the language, and, actually communicate with people, with humans. And the Soul Eater is one of those, the aforementioned Soul Eater of the title. And he appears every 3 years, I think, and makes his way across the country, seemingly slaughtering humans at random, but all is not as it seems with him. And the story is told from the perspective of Danny, who is a young soldier when we meet him, but he hates his life in the military. And he basically ends up kind of thrust together into this kind of mission with Win, or this kind of trip across the states. A bit of a road trip, lots of walking though. And the sort of, trouble they end up in, as they're making this journey across the wastes, and the relationship that forms between them. So that's the basic premise of what the story's about. And I picked this up because I thought, well, that sounds a bit kind of, crazy in terms of, it sounds, a weird and wonderful world. I do like post-apocalyptic stuff. And, at least if I'm reading a romance in a setting that I like, then, even if the romance side of it I don't like, the setting, hopefully, I will be able to appreciate. And the setting is very well realised. It's really good world building, actually. It's you can easily imagine it, in terms of visually. It's well described. It's well thought out. The backstory of it is well thought out. But in terms of the romance side of things, wow, was that a shocker to me. It's pretty spicy in parts. I've gone back and looked at the kind of description on the Kindle page, and it does say down at the bottom, explicit, and I must have missed that the first time around, because it is quite explicit. It's quite a lot of sauce, but it's also quite sweet. The relationship, the characters. There's a sweetness there as well, which kind of tempers some of the spice. The sex scenes are plentiful, and the language used in them is decent. It's there's no corny euphemisms, and maybe just if I've got to gripe at anything, it may be a little bit repetitive sometimes in the word choices. But not horribly so. But I did, when I first kind of got into it, and certainly got into that side of it, the sexy stuff. This is the thing I kind of didn't expect. It is male. It's human male, Danny, and monster male, Win. But Win is a being from a different plane of existence. So there are physical and anatomical differences. That they're not too far away from human to kind of be like a bit too much for me. But they are. It is different. It is different, and that's really refreshing to me. And that made actually a bigger impact than I thought it would, because this book it celebrates difference, and kind of acceptance, and really the idea that it's the personality and the person that matters and not the body. That's something that's important to me, as as somebody who's transgender themselves. That knowing that there is that kind of writing out there in this kind of book, in this kind of sort of trashy fun book, that's really important, actually. And so I didn't expect to get that kind of message, from this sort of book. And it's done in such a way that it's not all kind of, serious and angsty, or, makes a big deal of it. It doesn't make a big deal of it, and that's the point. It's just there, and it's just part of the sweetness of the story. The two characters we follow predominantly, Win and Danny, they both have their insecurities about various things, and I think that's what makes it, quite sweet. They're believable characters, and it's one of those that it just really surprised me that I enjoyed it so much, and I would definitely be reading the others in the series because I want to see where Lily Mayne takes this. And yeah, they seem to be extremely popular amongst the readers. They have good reviews on the Kindle store, and good rating, and that's really nice to see as well. As I say, like, people like the story and like the kind of the message, so to speak. This celebration of difference and of people, and of the love story that's within it, as well as the smut. So yeah, I will definitely be going on with these. I may save them for the full fat GarbAugust, in later this year, or I might just dip into them when I fancy one. Of an evening at weekend, and I just fancy something quick and easy. Because yeah, I want to see where Lily Mayne takes this. Certainly, even the world building, the actual world. I'm kind of invested in the society and the world, and to see what's going to happen with that, and learn more about it. And some of the horrible monsters that are in it. They're kind of the ones that attack and kill you and eat you. They're they're kind of well imagined. I want to kind of know more about what's out there. So yeah. That one was an absolute shocker of a success, and so it just goes to show, that's where the value of trying some trashy stuff is, and you sometimes you get more than you bargained for, in a good way. So yes, that is my Wasted Weekend wrap up done. Thanks very much to Ollie at Criminally for organising the event. It's been a blast. I've had so much fun last weekend, doing reading sprints, and trying some really new stuff, of things that I wouldn't ordinarily kind of end up reading. So it's certainly opened my eyes to some new stuff that's out there, and I've enjoyed all of it, which is really good. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do consider giving it a like, and maybe subscribing for more content coming soon. I will be back with you very soon for more ramblings on all things bookish. But from me, for now, that's ta-ra.